Oh, we're live. Oh no.
It's over, Prime. Are you retweeting? Did you tweet the show, Lori? I'm gonna retweet.
I didn't tweet it. I'm sorry.
Okay. You don't have to.
Are you capable of tweeting it? I'm very bad at
yes
multitasking. So if you could do it, that'd be great.
Do you have the YouTube
tweet
link?
It out? Yes, I do. It is.
Dun 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 dun.
Oops. I just clicked on the actual page and I could hear myself talking. Okay.
Yay.
You got that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, I forgot to do that.
No, it's fine.
CES wrecked me. I feel completely. I should have taken a day off today, honestly.
You probably should have.
I actually didn't get home until yesterday. I went through the whole weekend. I had my friends came to visit, which was really, really fun. But in hindsight, I don't think I can do that again. Too exhausting.
You need a day of nothing.
Yeah.
Recovery.
Yep.
Just got to write Decepticon. Decepticon. God, autocorrect is the worst. There we go.
I found it, by the way, Lori. Oh my God, I made Lori choke. She is so shocked with me being self-sufficient. I almost killed Lori.
Don't blame her. Low key, don't blame her.
I know. It's rarely happens.
Spit take.
As long as we get it on the show, it's all that matters.
Sorry, Jim. That's really going to be
I tweeted it
for you. Okay. We're going to start the show now.
That's what they think.
Good afternoon. Today is Monday, January 13th. I'm back from CES 2020, and that's what we're going to talk about because this is the iMore show. And joining us today on the iMore show is our therapy expert, whom I need to sit down with for an hour to decompress after CES, Georgia Dow of anxiety-videos.com. Welcome, Georgia.
Hello, Lori. You've survived. I can't wait to hear about everything.
Only barely. I think you could probably tell I'm like 2 octaves lower than I usually am, which is also 2 octaves lower than I usually am anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But you made it.
I did. I made it. Also joining us, the avoider of CES this year, somehow managed to, though I heard you got a little bit of FOMO. That's Renee Ricci of Vector. Welcome to the show, Renee.
All right. Well, 3 things. First, no, Georgia's a Decepticon. 2, welcome back, Lori. I want to know if CES is worse for your voice than punk rock. And 3, it was just so confusing with am I going, am I not going until the last minute. When I finally asked our bosses, they said no. And I was like, okay, fine.
Over it.
Yeah. Yep. But you did such a boss job that I feel like nobody even noticed.
The entire iMore team did a really great job. It was not just me. In fact, I probably did a terrible job compared to what everyone else did.
Not true. Lies.
I don't believe.
It was really fun this year. Again, this is my second year going to CES, so I have very little experience. But this year I felt more in control of my day-to-day life, but also I overbooked myself because I was more aware of what to expect at CES. So I kind of planned ahead. I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And then realized, oh no, I booked all these events, all these meetings, like all over the place, not just on the show floor, but it'll be at hotels or one would be at the Sands Expo, one would be at the Eureka Expo, one would be at the Las Vegas Convention Center. So it threw me all off. I was running around like crazy. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So last year, Lori, there was like the Impossible meat. This year, there's Impossible pork. Did you also get to taste it?
I didn't. For some reason, they don't invite me to that. I don't know. Maybe they think that I'm not going to give them a good review or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. Russell mans that. He does Impossible. He gets invited to that. And this year, so I did ask him about it. I didn't get to taste it myself, but he said it's you only get it in the ground pork capacity, and it's really good. It does have a different flavor than the Impossible beef. It has like a sort of saltier flavor, obviously. But he also pointed out he doesn't know of very many circumstances under which somebody in their home environment would use ground pork or a ground pork alternative, because that's kind of a sausage related thing, right? But breakfast meats.
I'm thinking dumplings. I'm thinking just all the dumplings.
Yeah,
dumplings. And breakfast meats, that's kind of what's missing from the sphere right now. Is there's beef related alternatives, but not really any pork related alternatives, which is how we get our breakfast sausages a lot of times. So I think it'll actually end up being really great for breakfast, sandwiches and eggs and sausage plates and things like that. So I think it'll really help out a lot with people who want an alternative to pork in the future. I have no idea what it tastes like though.
It seemed like, so the criticism I heard from CES, and I heard it from Dieter Bohn, I've heard it from John Gruber, I heard it from a bunch of people, is that it turned out to be less consumer electronics show and more concept electronics show, where a bunch of companies didn't really announce products that they were going to ship, but said like, they made like, here's a one-off car, we're never going to make it, but we thought it'd look good in a CES press conference.
Yeah, so I can see where that argument comes from, and no offense to Dieter for his take on it, but I would argue that that's only from the perspective of people who went to, excuse me. I would argue that that's only from the perspective of people who just went to like the big media announcements, because Panasonic and Sony and all of them had these translucent screens, which are clearly not ready for market right now. Yeah. There was companies that had a car that, it's a concept idea, but there were hundreds and hundreds of companies that weren't quite in the majors that were announcing and selling even at CES, like having those announcements go out and making them go live at CES.
Like a catch-22 where like the stuff that's not real is exciting, so that's what they cover, and the stuff that's real is boring, so they don't cover it, so they think that there's nothing real there. But then by the time we get to those things that are not real yet, those will be boring because we will have already had that technology available. So that's so 2020, dude.
Right, exactly. I mean, like a 4K TV a couple of years ago seemed pretty outrageous, and now those are so boring that even 8K is starting to seem boring.
Oh, no bezel? You couldn't have an inverse bezel? You couldn't have less bezel than there is TV?
Actually, I really loved their concept for the translucent display. I don't think it's intended to be a television set, but they were setting up things like a screensaver with a fish, like a fishbowl on it, and you can see right through it. So people were standing on the other side of it, and it's just this kind of like pretty window basically that has whatever you want displaying on the glass, and it's really nice looking. It doesn't look like a screen projection or something. It's really pretty looking, but you can see right through it. So I thought that one was pretty cool. I hope we see more of that. That was actually a big deal this year for the televisions. That was all the majors were showing off something like that. So that was pretty fun. Some other big things, we had our Best of CES awards. So the Bridge Pro Plus, which I may have even mentioned on our last episode, we gave them an award this year because really it is fantastic to see a keyboard and trackpad for the iPad Pro. Since the technology and the software is now available, this is the first one that's doing it, the first one to market. So they're the first of their kind that has something to market that you can purchase. I think they're going to be available. Pre-orders have already gone up, and I think they're going to be available late February. And so to me, that's a really big deal.
Lori, because just from last show that we did together, my husband, who uses his iPad, he was like, this is what I want. Out of all of the stuff we talk about, he's like, you know what? This is really interesting. So when is it actually going to ship? Like when I want to order it for him would be
already.
Okay.
So the first 500 of them will ship in late February, and then they're going to begin shipping for the rest of them in early March. And honestly, I haven't visited the webpage since it launched. They might even be sold out at this point. So you should definitely check it out. Bridge.com. It'll be right on the homepage. BRYDGE.
I have to order soon because by the time the show goes live, it'll be.
I know
really
everyone's gonna know, but yeah. So you'll get his at the end of March. I'm almost definitely they've already sold out of the first 500, which go out late February, but late March isn't that much later, so it's pretty good. So yeah, there's that one, and then something I didn't know in advance. I found out day of the Withings is launching in later this year. They didn't actually give an official date on that, but I don't think it's very far from now. They're launching something called ScanWatch. So they're using their hybrid smartwatch that they have where it actually looks like an analog watch, but it has this tiny little display that gives you just a couple of readouts of, step tracking and things like that. They've added, they already had the heart rate tracking. They've added ECG, which is new to the Withings lineup. But the one thing that I think is most exciting is that they're adding tracking for your sleeping to test for sleep apnea. So they have a SpO2 sensor on it, which isn't a brand new thing. An SpO2 sensor is not, brand new technology. It's just that it's much easier now to get into your wearables. So they're just kind of waiting on the finalization of the FDA approval, and then they're ready to launch. So this SpO2 sensor, it tracks your blood oxygen level, and if you're sleeping and have sleep apnea, you most likely stop breathing for a small period of time. And this will track that all night long. So if it notices your blood oxygen levels drop and then come up and then drop and then come up, it'll say to you, you might be having some kind of issues with your blood oxygen while you're sleeping. You should maybe talk to your doctor about that. And that's big. We don't have a sleep apnea tracker out there. Like when I wrote about it, I was talking about how my mom didn't even know that she was doing something like this until I spent the night with her in a hotel and said, you sound like you're not breathing very well while you're sleeping. You should talk to your doctor about that. So there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people probably who aren't diagnosed yet because they don't even know that that's an issue. So all this does, you use just your regular wristwatch, you sleep with that at night, and then it'll start tracking that and kind of let you know, like, there might be an issue. You might want to talk to somebody about it. And, that's big. That's big news for them. So I can't wait for that to come out. Obviously the Eve Cam. So Eve is finally putting out a HomeKit enabled indoor security camera. That's a big deal to me because last year, Apple I think it was last year at CES, Apple announced that it was going to have video secure support. Renee, you might remember the exact word. I can't remember the exact wording of it.
It was WWDC, and then I think some of the camera stuff came out later. But it's HomeKit Secure Video.
There we go.
And there was HomeKit Secure Routers. I think they announced them both at the same time.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen any of these yet. We keep hearing about a bunch of companies announcing them, but they're just trickling out. And Eve is a great brand, and they finally have launched an indoor security cam that has HomeKit Secure Video included in it. So, that's great. That's more of that.
When you say HomeKit Secure, that means we don't have to worry about where the video is going to,
right?
Until Google buys them.
Well, with HomeKit Secure, Renee, you might even have a little bit more detail than I do. But if I understand it correctly, with HomeKit Secure, your videos are saved in iCloud. They're not sent to Eve's servers. They're sent to your iCloud server. So even if Eve sells, your data is still being stored in iCloud, which is what Apple is in charge of and kind of taking care of. So your ability to secure that data is much, much stronger than it would be if it were an independent company that eventually sold to Amazon or Google or something like that.
Yeah, and I think they do a lot for local security as well, like how the communications are packaged and handled between like the camera and the router. And sandboxing all of that. My big thing still remains that all these other companies, like Google bought Nest, and Nest has cameras, and Google bought Dropcam, and Dropcam has cameras, and Amazon bought Ring, and Ring has cameras. And so far, none of them have, like, even the ones that promised us HomeKit support, it hasn't materialized. And it's getting smaller and smaller. And somebody could buy Eve and then buy. So I think this is still some area where Apple has to get some skin in the game, even if it's by having like Beats, like their own version of Beats that just makes something that we're safe in knowing will never be bought and will never run through anybody else's data collection.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Renee, you've talked about that a few times, especially last year of coming into 2020. Apple needs to have some kind of, it would be great to see them do a lot more of their own dedicated smart home stuff. Make us feel a lot better about that. Another one of my favorites is the Pop Power. Georgia, do you use a pop socket on your phone?
No, I don't.
Is one of the reasons because...
Sorry, Renee?
I think, did you use a Ring before? I remember Kevin was using
It wasn't the Ring. It was the hand straps. It was the Love straps.
Yeah.
It was like the hand ones that were there. And And because now I use the leather case, they don't stick well to them. They peel off. But I like them. Like it would be something that I would use if I was using a different case. But yeah, I used to love the love handles and like had a whole bunch from CES, and I really adored them for quite a long time until I changed cases.
Yep.
So
and then that darn leather case that looks so good but ruins the stickiness.
No, it just slowly peels off. So tell me about the
Pop Power. It's actually a charger for your phone with a pop socket on the back of it, which I think is really clever because that is one of the pain points that we all have. Like there's two of them. Pain point number one, sticking it in your back pocket is just a real problem. Pain point number two is wirelessly charging your phone. You literally can't do it with the pop socket on the back of it because there's too much space in there. So they made their own wireless charger that has a little divot in the middle. So when you rest your phone down, the Qi charger will connect to your phone. And your pop socket can kind of just like stick in the little divot, which I think is probably the pop socket is one of the most popular iPhone accessories out there. And so I think a lot of people, they're already sold out of it. I went to the website just the other day. You can't even order right now. You have to wait a little while before you can order more. So it's clearly a popular one.
Do you use
my favorite,
Lori?
I give and take. The sticky on the back is so reusable that I have the Otter Pop, or I guess it's supposed to be Otter Plus Pop for licensing and marketing purposes, but it's the OtterBox case with the pop socket actually stuck in it, and that has like its own indentation, so it slides into your back pocket a lot easier. I use that when I go to conventions and Disneyland and things like that, where I know I'm going to be using my phone a lot in and out, like while walking around. As for just the individual pop socket itself, I use them sometimes because I can just pop it on and go while I'm walking. You just have to wipe off the sticky on the back. But I think,
Lori, what I think Georgia was asking was, do you pop socket docket, do you rock it?
Oh, Renee, that is so good.
Wouldn't you have called it the docket if you were pop socket and then asked people to rock it? I'm just saying.
Oh, you need to get hired by these people.
I thought you were going to say you need to get higher.
I don't think you need to get any higher, Renee. That was good. What about you two? I mean, I just went through my list of favorites from CES. Do you have any favorites? Anything that you saw come up that looked really interesting or even weird or stupid?
I like the dog, the robotic dog.
Yeah.
Jenny. It's a little robotic dog, and it's fuzzy and cute. Like I love I'm still waiting for my own little tiny robot that will like follow me around and talk to me.
You have a real dog.
I have a real dog, but it would be cool to have. Again, I'm waiting for a robot companion. This is a childhood wound. I never had my robot companion.
You have a husband and a dog.
Toyota made the cutest one, but it only speaks Japanese, and I don't speak Japanese.
Michael Fisher keeps making videos about how his digital companions died because they turn off the servers, and then he has to watch them slowly die in front of him.
Oh God, that's
he made two videos that made me cry. Yeah, I forget what they were called. It was like he's had 2 or 3 of these digital friends, and they're just like, "It has been a pleasure knowing you."
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, it broke my heart. My heart.
Too much for me.
I know, because they're all server side. Then these companies go away.
The other one that I don't know if this is more weird than good is the Y brush, the toothbrush that. So I love my my Philips Sonicare. I love it. If you don't have a mechanical tooth, you should. But this one, like it does take a certain amount of time. And so this one, it's a mouthpiece that has bristles on it, and you just pop it in and you just wait there while you could do other things. And I know, how lazy could I be? Good question. I can be very lazy. And I'm like also people that have difficulties with mobility, people that are in needing of elderly care. I could see how this would be so much easier. You just pop it in 2 minutes. It says it's like 10 seconds or so, but and that's it. You're done. Your teeth are brushed.
Do you know the name of that one?
Y brush.
Y brush.
Y, the letter Y, not Why would you make this? So, that could be another reason for it.
Oh, here we go. The 10-second toothbrush. I'm looking it up right now. I hadn't even heard of that one. Oh, wow. Look at that. It's weird. So it looks like a mouth guard like something you put in your mouth that looks like a mouth guard. And it just brushes your teeth for you. Yes. Though I would argue there's no way that you're getting a good brushing in only 10 seconds. I don't know if that's true or not, but
if you think that all your teeth, so if you were on 10 seconds on each tooth and you move versus
Well, how many teeth are in your head, Georgia? Let's do some math here. We have like 50 teeth. How many teeth do we have? 500? I don't know.
I don't know. 30. I think it's 30. I don't know.
You're supposed to do 2 minutes for all your teeth. So 10 seconds would have to be 1/12 of that. I don't know.
It should be a few seconds per tooth. So we have in the 30s, I don't know, 32, 34, something like that.
Why don't you just stick your mouth in a like liquid full of piranha and they could clean your teeth?
Piranhas are actually not great with cleaning teeth, Renee. Like tiki birds, on the other hand, are well known for cleaning teeth, usually of crocodiles. But I don't know. I think that this could be good.
Would you have your children use this instead of learning how to brush their own teeth?
Oh, that's a good question, Lori. Now you really called me out on it. I know, I probably wouldn't. Why? Because I think that just in case this Y brush doesn't really work out, I wouldn't want them to get worse at it. Yeah. They have no skill on how to do it. Just in case this is not the way of the future. Though I think I have my kids have a Sonicare. So what I actually believe.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. I'm looking at these kids with this thing in their mouth, and it just seems, I don't know.
And also you'd have to each have your own. Anyways, it seems expensive. It would be an expensive undertaking. Lori's like, yes, Georgia, what's wrong with you?
I mean, I would assume that each one has their own toothbrush.
How gross can we get? Yeah. But it's just expensive investment compared to, a $2 toothbrush or a $10 to $15 Sonicare brush line.
It's pretty good.
The thing I liked were like some of the camera stuff we saw on phones, like Samsung had macro lenses on their Galaxy S Lite.
Would love a macro.
It's just the ability to like zoom super close into something and get like a really good picture of an ant, a flower, an eyeball, a computer board, an OLED display matrix, like whatever nerdy thing that you love to get. Because we have like the super wide now, so being able to like take it into super close. Yeah. And also it was one of those concept things that they're not going to ship, or they say they're not going to ship, but OnePlus had a McLaren phone where they used the chromatic glass from the very high-end sports cars where you can change the opacity. And so the back just looked like black glass. And then when you opened the camera app, the black glass turned transparent. You could see all the cameras underneath it. But it could also be turned into ND filters, which are neutral density filters. And if people aren't familiar with those, it's like sunglasses for your camera. So if you're outside and the sky is blown out because it's too bright, you can put on 1 or 2 stops or 3 stops of ND filter. And it just like puts like sunglasses in front of the camera, and it makes the sky, it brings down the brightness. And that, as we just get more and more stuff into our phone cameras, I want more and more stuff in our phone cameras.
Yeah, no kidding. That seems crazy good. But you said that one isn't, that's just a concept.
I believe it because, like, again, this stuff is usually sold on sports cars that cost $500,000. Yeah. I don't know what the price is to put that glass on a phone yet.
Yeah. I want it though. So
I know.
They should make it and then sell it to me for way cheaper than they should.
Totally.
Hopefully. On the other ones of strange, because I those are the ones that entertain me, were the Pampers Lumi, which was like a camera and sensor that's attached to your baby's diaper.
That seems wrong. Wrong.
Why? Why would you do this?
Veto.
It's like what?
Babies deserve privacy. Damn it.
Well, they don't get any privacy, but why would you need? One is like that seems like the worst place to put a camera. And and creepy. And how many cameras are you going to be buying?
Right. No, I mean, it's gross.
Like you see that on some other person's
I don't know if you saw this, Russell made this video about how angry he was that they were selling disposable batteries at CES. So like if your battery was running down, you could buy a battery pack real cheap and then you just throw it out afterwards. And I love angry Russell. So that was just like, what kind of disposable jerks, environment, idiots. It was so wonderful.
It's this thing.
Oh, guilty.
They gave me one. It's I mean, you have to see Russell's editorial piece on it. I think if it were properly marketed, this is actually a good idea because I can throw this in with my emergency kit, and I have a rechargeable battery that just sits in my emergency kit for years and years and years, right? So that means less, because the idea is that it's like disposable but also biodegradable, but it's not, because there's so much on the box itself that's not reusable or recyclable. Or if it is recyclable, you actually have to go out of your way to like take it to like return it to the company to get the battery recycled, you know? So it's bad for the environment, but if it were marketed properly, it could be marketed as just something that's supposed to go in your emergency kit, which means there's not going to be hundreds and thousands of them in the landfills. It's just the one that you keep in your emergency kit.
Can we just stop for a second and recognize that Lori admitted to having a go bag, like she's Jason Bourne or James Bond or something?
You don't? I mean, you never know when the FBI is going to come track you down
Lori,
for the things that
she's like, doing. Go bag.
Yeah,
she's out the door like Mystique from the X-Men.
It's actually my zombie survival guide bag. It has a machete in it and some water and a gun with one bullet in it in case I can't get out alive.
Yeah, you know, in case there's vampires, you have certain things. It's werewolves, you need other
Lori
things.
is a daywalker. We don't like to talk about it, but Lori is a daywalker.
Talk about it. We don't talk about it. We don't need to talk about it.
Robots though too. Robots were a big deal at CES this year. Russell found this toilet that, let's see, I think it like brings you your toilet paper.
Yeah,
it's really.
Can we go into what is this called? This toilet that brings you your toilet paper.
I'm trying to find. I see the picture.
It's like a Star Wars droid, Georgia, but it has a toilet roll on top of it.
It's the Charmin Rollbot. I think this is another concept one. It's a small delivery robot that appears via two small wheels and a bare-faced display with an emergency roll of toilet paper whenever you need it. So I think this was just kind of a funny joke, but what a hilarious thing. You just sit down on the toilet and I guess you call it if you need to if you run out of toilet paper, and it'll come scurrying to you.
Now again, there's nothing worse than being on the loo and not having toilet paper, which it's again one of my primary kind of things of like that's like the worst experience. But it's carrying like when the photo I see, it has like one toilet paper roll. And then you have to remember to fill up also the robot. See, because my problem would be this is that I would call the robot in hopes that it would rescue me. And I know 100% that one of my kids has already used the toilet paper, played around with the robot just by calling it, and it will show up and I'll be all excited that its batteries didn't die because my kids were playing with it, and it'll be empty.
Yep.
And then I have to, while on the toilet, try to punt this robot in anger.
Yeah.
And you know, I just
and still not have anything to clean your butt with.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And then I have to yell at my kids for not replenishing the, Charmin Bear Bot.
And then you also need to invest in those weird diapers that have a camera in them to let yourself know when you need to change your own diaper. CES can be so funny. Creepy robots. There's also some really creepy looking robots. There's one called. There's one that's called Robot C that you can upload images of yourself, and it'll make this very realistic looking, like basically mount for your computer that will also move around and talk. It's pretty gross.
Robot C. I'm trying to find
Robo C.
C. Okay. Wait, let me find this because there's nothing better than creepy robots.
Oh yeah, in this one it hits that uncanny valley version of creepy that like makes you just want to like run and scream when you see it too.
Oh, I found the cute little. I found the cute little Mars cat. That's cute. So that's not it.
No.
Says a Decepticon.
Well, you have to be on the winning side.
I'll tear out your optics. It's over, Prime.
It looks like the website is robot-c.ai, if that helps you any.
Thank you.
Now, Megatron. Endlessly entertaining.
So hopefully everyone, I'm sorry to pause on this, but I do want everybody to have the opportunity to look at this because it's really creepy. They're fairly good at it, like simulating a reasonable likeness of a person. And that's the creepiest part of it. That you're
Is that
just
the
like
Samsung thing?
This is not Samsung. No,
okay.
This is just robots.
Samsung had Neo, which were their fake human people, but they ended up looking more like avatars than people. So
yeah. Did you find it, Georgia?
Sorry, I am like
you got distracted by other robots.
Yeah, I'm running through a robot. I did not find the right robot, but I
Which one did you find
for it after? I found some really kind of cute. The cat one was the one that I thought, oh, this isn't bad.
Is that
kind of cute? Marsbot. Yeah, kind of cute, but it's
a little cutie cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do remember seeing that one.
Yeah, no. It's interesting because sometimes you see stuff and you're like, this would be absolutely amazing. So I saw the virtual Marvel Black just while I searched for this robot. It's a earbud hearing aid, and hearing aids are so vastly expensive. So I'm like, oh, this would be amazing. And I'm like, why don't they have the price anywhere on the website? It's rich sound. It looks nice. You don't have to get them custom made for your ears. It can attach to your apps. It's smart, connects to your phone, customizable. And then when I saw the price, it is about the same price as, specially made hearing aids. And then I went, that is very sad because it's $6,000. There's a reason why.
Yeah. It's not that special. It has great tech, but it's not like helping people that need it with low income.
Yeah.
But if you were going to have to invest in some expensive hearing aids, whether they be smart hearing aids or not, you might need to put that on your credit card, and then you might need to consolidate it. I just did a really great segue into our sponsor for today, which is Lightstream. I love it when that happens. You know what feels great? Paying off high interest credit cards and getting a low rate and saving money. You can refinance your credit card balance and save with a credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream with rates as low as 5.95% APR with autopay. They have great low interest rates, much lower than the average credit card interest rate, which is usually over 20%. You can get a loan ranging from $5,000 to $100,000 with no additional fees, just the interest. There's no application fee, no origination fee, no transaction fee, no prepayment penalties. The online application is quick and easy. You can apply right on your phone. It even lets you get your money as soon as the day that you apply. Lightstream has they do what they do because you have to have good credit to get this. So if you have good credit, you get low interest rates. They cater to you specifically. It's not wide broad stroking for anybody, and they have to balance out those high risk loans with the good credit loans. So your good credit gets you good interest rates. For iMore's listeners, you can apply now to get an additional interest rate discount. The only way to get this discount is go to livestream.com/iMore. That's livestream.com/iMore for additional discounts. Lightstream, LIGHTSTREAM.com/iMore. And this is subject to credit approval. Rates include 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change. Offers are subject to change without notice. You can visit lightstream.com/iMore for more information. And thank you, Lightstream, this week for being the sponsor of the iMore show. I can now get my loan to go get my phone with special glass, my diapers that have cameras in them, my hearing aids that are smart, and my creepy robots. All right, what's next on the list? Lots and lots of CES stuff.
So I was looking at Toyota's robots because I was trying to remember the name of the cute robot that Toyota had, which was the Kirobo, which is so very cute. But the cool part is they also have now a rehab robot Toyota's made, an innovation robot which has articulated hands, and a human support robot for people that are maybe mobility impaired, or they are, very, very ill. And so it can give you water and it can feed you and deal with that. So it's kind of again, scary and creepy, yes, but also some really cool innovations to be able to help us in times of need.
Yeah, so I think with robots, you're definitely going to it's going to run the gamut of being educational, being just cute to have around the house, being helpful for people with accessibility needs, and creepy. There's, the robot industry is pretty big and can kind of cover a whole bunch of things. I think it's great to see when innovation and well-being intermingle. There's actually been a lot of, at CES, I noticed a lot of companies that are trying to kind of meet that need. They're trying to use the advancements in technology to meet all of our well-being needs and our health and fitness and accessibility needs. Wheelchairs that stop on their own when an object is in the way. There's more than one company that did this. I'm sorry, I don't actually remember the company name, but they would have a wheelchair. Actually, I think Panasonic is one of the companies that's creating a wheelchair that doesn't. I think theirs might be more of a mobility scooter, so not so much of a wheelchair for just day-to-day action, but it's actually like a mobility scooter for people who sometimes can walk but need to use the scooter to get around. And it's, it has kind of a sensor in front of it, so you can just, do your hair while you're going down the street, and if something is in the way, it'll just stop and you won't crash into it. So that's a really great advancement there.
What about things for smart home devices?
So far, I didn't see anything that stood out as being innovative in terms of smart home. That it's everything was stuff we've already seen, but getting better at it. It's so using new technology to make something that already exists better. Better connectivity, better use of Bluetooth or HomeKit. There's a lot more companies this year that are using HomeKit, which is great. Last year at CES, there were dozens and dozens of booths that I went to that were Amazon or Google supported, but not HomeKit supported. And to see more companies include HomeKit in their compatibility makes a great home of the future for people like me I'm trying to stick within that HomeKit ecosystem and not go outside of that whenever possible. So lots of that coming up this year, even just little no-name, no offense to these small companies, but companies that I had never heard of before that are adding HomeKit compatibility, which I know is, that's an effort to get certified to be HomeKit compatible. So even these independent companies are trying to add that to their services to give us as Apple users that advantage. I think that's a really great thing coming forward for sure.
And I saw some, it seems like some people are trying to get into the Nintendo Switch market with some portable gaming.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, that happens every year too. There's a lot of companies that kind of just have their mini console of one way or another. Where I saw innovation, I'm going to kick myself for not remembering what this is called. There's a company that makes they make software that allows you to get an upgraded version of your games. So games that came out 15 years ago that don't have as good of pixel quality, it just plugs right into your GameCube or your Nintendo. So it actually works with Nintendo Switch. Anything that has a HDMI port, it plugs right into that, and it smooths out all of your sharp edges and just makes it more advanced looking. Pretty impressive work. I don't think there's any way I'm going to remember what that's called right now. That's killing me. That's a big that was a big advancement. Gonna kill me. You know what I'll do? I'll put it in the show notes. I'll look it up once we're off this call, and I'll put it in the show notes so it can be linked to our show notes, that if you want to find out more about that, it's actually really impressive. I saw them using it with a bunch of different game consoles, and then they would show a side-by-side comparison of what it looks like as it's in its natural state and what it looks like once it's been smoothed out. And it's pretty impressive just to see that there's more depth to things, background imagery that just looks really flat in its natural state, kind of breathes new life into it, and it makes it more interesting. There's lots and lots of handheld mounts that go on your phones, for example, or on your Nintendo Switch that kind of make them better. I think Razer is making a pretty advanced handheld mount for your iPhone that makes a really great gaming experience. A couple companies that are doing stuff like that. That's all pretty fun and interesting. Some good stuff out there. What else I actually got a chance to sit down with the CEO of a company called Aira, AIRA, and they are doing something pretty advanced. And so one thing that I saw this year at CES is the wireless charging manufacturers are getting on board with what's called free positional charging. So Renee, you'll probably appreciate this. Right now, when you set your phone down on your wireless charger, you're going to understand this as soon as I say the word sweet spot. You have to find the sweet spot, right? When you set down your phone, you miss the sweet spot. You didn't even notice that your phone didn't charge last night. It's the worst thing in the world. You have to make sure that it fits on there. And that goes across the board everywhere. All Qi chargers are like that. It's just the way the standard works. They're single coil with a little processor chip in the middle of it. And that's the standard. That's what everyone has to go by. So this company, Aira, plus a couple of others out there, I was lucky enough to get to interview Aira. They're making a new version of a wireless charger that you just plop it down anywhere and it'll connect it. So with Aira's their technology, they've created a system of microchips and charging sources that will actually go to your phone. So you don't have to have your phone go to a single coil. These matrices are laid out in such a way that wherever you set your phone, it will find it and go to it and then charge your phone that way.
That's cool.
And it's really impressive technology. I got to use it, their prototype version there, and legitimately it really worked. It connected really fast to my phone. So my phone immediately recognized that it was charging. And I also didn't even try. I just threw it down on there and it worked. This is not that sort of like Zen's has the Liberty where it's 18 or I think 16 coils stacked up on top of each other, which in concept is a really great idea. But that's extra thick because they have 16 coils that are overlapping each other to try to give you the sweet spot wherever it is. This one is actually just a flat little, it's like a motherboard with a bunch of connecting things underneath it. And they're coding into this hardware, this algorithm that seeks this out. So it can be used with multiple devices at once. And it's not because of space that it uses that. You could have something the size of a table that only supports 3 devices, but it supports them wherever you want. Or you can have a tiny little thing this big that supports 50 items that you want to charge, as long as you can fit 50 items on it. It's not about the size of the pad. It's about its ability to connect to things. And their algorithm lets it connect all over the place. So They already have this technology in place, and it's already coming to market in Nomad's base station. Sorry, did I call that? Yeah, the Base Station Pro, which is coming out later this year. As far as I know, that's going to be first to market with this particular company. And I'm very excited about this free positional charging, especially, right now these companies are going to be competing with this. And all of the companies that I've spoken to so far, Mophie also announced that they will be doing something in the future as well. They didn't have very much information for me at the time, but they had the same thing. We're working with the consortium to update the CHI standard. So right now, the Nomad Base Station Pro, for example, it's not going to market CHI certified. But these companies, not Nomad, but the company like Ara and these other companies that are doing the same thing, they're working with the consortium and saying, we need to update this because the world is different now. So let's get on this free positional charging thing. And that's kind of the future. I would say within the next year or two, we're going to see the CHI standard updated to support free positional charging. And we're going to see dozens more companies that are going to put things like this out on the market. It's super exciting. I'm telling you, when you throw your phone down and you just see it connect and there's no circle that you have to make sure that you get into, it's pretty exciting.
That is really cool. I think, and again, it's nice to just you don't want to have to position something. You want to kind of just throw it down and it just happens without thought.
Yeah. That's one of our biggest pain points in wireless charging. The other being that it's a little bit slow, but the biggest pain point we have is that, how many times have you thought that you threw it down on your charger and realized the next morning that I literally just did that at CES on Friday morning. I woke up and was like, I didn't really set it on there right. Yeah, and I really needed that. So I plugged it into the wall really quick and charged it up while I was taking a shower. But I think I was only at like 80% when I left the room, which is nice because that is kind of fast, but not fast enough.
But yeah, especially not when you're covering CES.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now, did you happen to see the Segway S Pod Crash?
I didn't see the crash. Tell me more about it.
So everyone was really excited about. So Segway made this little chair that's like Jurassic Park, and people were really excited to be able to use it. But unfortunately, it crashed during a demonstration, and it goes fast. By the way, it's like 24 miles per hour, which is like almost 40 kilometers per hour for those of us that are like Canadian and British, but. Like the company said no one was injured, but that means that no one could use it for demos. And I thought this is like, it looks like out of Jurassic Park. It's not as cool as like the whole circular pods, but it's a little seat that you can sit in. But I guess it is not that easy to control, because if the person that is doing the demonstration crashes it so badly that it is no longer functioning, or they're worried about insurance to have it crash twice, that's a little bit of a worry to have these little guys zooming around here or there. That's the problem with Segways. Like, they are not that easy to be able to control. You probably know, or many people know, that the owner of Segway, the person that bought them, crashed over a cliff and died in a Segway.
Yeah.
So control is definitely an issue with being able to use something that is motorized.
And I think Segway, one of the things that makes their mobile devices, the transportation devices, different and unique is how fast they can go. But that's exactly where the danger comes in, is that you really have to understand how to control what you're doing, because crashes are so much more dangerous. I think the S Pod has the potential to go up to 24 miles an hour. I mean, that's really fast. If you're thinking about how unprotected you are in your environment, it's just you sitting in a chair. That's a pretty fast thing to do, to almost crash into it. So I hadn't heard that the S Pod crashed. That's too bad that they ended up having to just kind of shut down the demos for it.
Yeah, we're one step closer and yet further away from our WALL-E universe.
Oh no. Yeah. We'll all just be sitting in our chairs with VR headsets in front of us.
Well, I think we're doing that already.
Some of us are. Did you have any other favorites? You talked about the unique camera phone stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was most of it for me. Like I see a lot of that stuff, but I'm a big fan of like the traditional CES where they show us the stuff that's going to be in our living rooms a year from now. And I feel like because they feel like they don't have a lot to mention, they do all this big hoopla stuff like micro LED panels that are so expensive, they're only selling them in small batches and expect you to assemble your own puzzle like on the wall, or some of the flexible TV sets and things like that, or the car, it looks like the Avatar car. All of that is just so far away from the more grounded CS experience that I prefer, that I just kind of look at it and low-key roll my eyes and then go on to, and it's like everyone covers that stuff and then complains about it, which makes me all salty.
And in the chat room, and my husband, which I don't really know, was talking about AMD and how they were really thrashing Intel with chip makers, which in the end will be good for all of us. But I'm not going to go through all of the numbers for that. Renee, maybe you can, but they pretty much thrashed Intel. And that was a really big deal.
It's back and forth, because now I've seen some people pushing back on that and saying that it's mostly for multi-core work. So like, because gamers are super angry, because like the people who make videos like me are super happy with the AMD stuff because it's multi-core and it'll just thrash through all our work. But the gamers are like, I just want my single core and my embedded graphics thing to be better and blah, blah, blah. So I think it also points down to the divide in how differently people are using all their technology now. But if I was Intel, I'd be, super worried because, well, it's funny because AMD is doing cheaper on the desktop, but their laptop stuff didn't look like it was cheaper. Like they're getting to the point where they figure they're doing so well now, they don't have to undercut Intel anymore. And I was kind of really liking it when they were undercutting Intel on price.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. Again, I'm not as good with this stuff, but I think that they were comparing some of their chips now to $20,000.
Those are on the high end, the servers. So, the laptop stuff is the new and exciting.
And for them, it was like 4K.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this is going to really change computing and what you can expect and what you will want to run. So yeah, people are pretty excited all over the internet right now.
Chips. I just want some dip for my chips. That's all I want.
What would technology dip look like for your technology chips?
We have two. Before we go, Laura, we have two sort of quasi big bits of Apple news. If I can squeeze them in.
Yeah. Yes, that's actually what I was going to hit on our way out. So go for it.
So one is that Apple's doing a replacement program. If you have a battery case for the iPhone XS, XS Max, or XR, some people were having issues where the case wouldn't charge, or if the case charged, it wouldn't charge the phone afterwards. If that is happening to you, you can contact Apple and they'll arrange a replacement. And we have an article and a link up there for where you can go to have that done. And the Justice Department just announced that Apple wasn't being helpful to them in trying to break into the phones from the Pensacola attacks, which to me is like all companies, Apple, Google, everybody gets requests from the government for information all the time. They're routine and you never hear about them. So whenever it ends up in the newspaper, it's because the government wants to try to gin up public support and say, oh, look how terrible it is. We had these terrorist attacks or this other sort of attack, and these technology companies aren't helping us. They should be breaking into these phones for us. And there's a couple of really important points there. Is that one, if the company did the right thing, they are not technically able to break into it. It's not like Apple or Google or like even Facebook, any of these companies, they don't stockpile zero-day exploits to use on their own customers. If they're sent a zero-day or they discover one, they fix it, because if they don't, someone else is going to break into that phone, and it's generally going to be a huge headline and problem, and it's going to cost them tons of money. Like if they don't fix this thing, they'd be like, oh, the Chinese government used this, or oh, a hacker was able to do that. And that's terrible for them. So they fix these things. It's not their job to break into it. So what some companies really want, well, not companies, sorry, what like the FBI wants is the same thing they wanted with the San Bernardino case, and that is for Apple and other companies to give them a back door. And Australia is trying to pass or has passed legislation on this as well. And ironically, out of the many sins that Apple has with China, Tim Cook recently said that China had never asked for a backdoor or for an unlock of an iPhone. But you better believe if the FBI gets one or makes a big enough stink about it, Russian intelligence, Chinese intelligence, all these countries, especially countries where dissidents, journalists, and even minority populations are constantly under persecution, are going to ask for this, because we saw exactly that happen with BlackBerry and proxy servers. So either they are incredibly ignorant, and I'm possibly willing to entertain the notion that they are just so completely ignorant about encryption technology that they don't understand that you can break it and no longer and still have secure. Like, they might think, oh, they're just breaking this iPhone. Doesn't work that way. Or they are so manipulative that they think that they can make us right. Oh, Apple's helping terrorists. Oh, Google's in love with terrorists. That they'll get public opinion to do for them what the courts so far have not, because these are extra legal requests. There is no law that governs their right to break into digital encryption. So far, they might pass a law like that, but so far, and these companies can't be expected to break the law for them. They get in enough trouble following the law in terms of supplying backups, or in terms of like taking VPN outs out of countries that don't allow. They get it in way more than enough trouble following laws, that they by no means should be expected to break laws where they don't exist, especially when it compromises our rights to privacy and data integrity, and just the protection from search and seizure.
Right.
There's my rant.
Right. No, and there are no laws. Like, they're not breaking the laws. The government isn't asking to break the law. Aren't any laws in place about this. But the thing that I think that the government doesn't see is then it makes the government themselves less secure.
Yeah,
and
well,
then they are also more open to being able to be hacked, taken a look at, because once you allow for one backdoor, someone's going to find it that is not you.
Well, Stuxworm got out. I mean, the stuff that they weaponized to attack other countries is now being used against us because they're incapable of keeping secrets. All the Edward Snowden stuff came out. They're just not capable of keeping secrets.
Let's just say it. There's only one way to keep a secret, and that's for only you to have the secret. Once you've told someone else, it's no longer really a secret.
So the whole thing. And they said that Apple provided no substantive help, which to me is, again, either complete ignorance or complete manipulation, because under the law, Apple has to supply them with backups and metadata. And that is a huge amount. Like, it may not know what I told Lori, but it knows that I told Lori, for example. And then you can start seeing, like, who did I communicate with? You don't, like, the contents of the messages would probably be more valuable, sure. But just the mere fact that they know who you spoke to and where they spoke to. And they're saying they want Apple to break in so they can get access to WhatsApp and get access to, and they should take that up with WhatsApp, quite frankly.
There's also,
so anyways, I'm all salty.
This is very interesting, to say the least, that these companies want, or the government officials wanting companies to break into a device that they can't themselves. So why would you? I don't know. I can't. I think of, like, The Wire, the TV show The Wire, and that sort of idea of, like, okay, if you want to spy on somebody, you have to get your official subpoena to do the spying, and then you can set up your microphones and keep track of them, keep an eye on them. Once you have a reason for arrest, you go in and you take their computer and you hack into their computer. You don't make Apple or Windows hack into your computer. You have your team of people in the government that are doing that to hack into the computer and get all that information. Why are phones somehow supposed to be
so? I think they're
different than.
Honestly, I think they're lying. I think, well, like, because we saw with, and I'm using the term lying very specifically, because we saw with the San Bernardino, they eventually paid Cellebrite or Greylock or one of these third-party companies to break into it for them. But they said they asked other agencies and other governments even for help, and it wasn't helpful. But that's because, like, no one's going to waste their exploits to give it to them who probably don't, like, they don't, like, there's no critical urgent care. They want this information, sure, but there's no critical attack happening, and they want to save their exploits, the exploits that they have. Edward Snowden said that about San Bernardino. They could break into it quickly, but then they're burning exploits that they have, for little or no reward. So it's probably just that their interest isn't really getting into this iPhone. Their interest is getting into every iPhone, every Android phone.
Exactly.
And it serves their interest better to make a big stink about it than it is to actually break into it.
Right. Because if you start creating a sentiment that companies are somehow not being patriotic, not helping the government, not protecting our safety, you're setting a cultural wave that will put pressure on these companies to do something that they think it goes against your privacy and protection. And it really is just a matter of, like, for every for every spin that they put on it that says that we think they should have their, like Apple and Google and whoever should be creating backdoors, there should be people like us out there reminding everyone that just because in this circumstance it benefits the government to be able to have the backdoor doesn't mean that your privacy and protection is going to stay that way in place forever. And it's more important for us to have that privacy and security in our data protection, our privacy protection all across the board. It's exactly why we have, checks and balances in place that are supposed to protect us when we're talking about voting, on changes in society and everything, is that we have to consider that right now you might be on board and on the same side of that breaking in, but remember that that's not always going to be that way. And someday in the future, somebody else is going to be in charge of breaking into that. And are you going to be okay with them breaking into your stuff in the future, even though right now you think it's okay? What about someday in the future? And it really can be like a complete, right now you might be thinking, well, I don't do anything wrong. Well, laws change all the time, and you might be doing something wrong and something illegal.
You only pirated those 3 movies, and if they want to get you, they'll find out you pirated those 3 movies.
Or even something that's not illegal right now at all might be illegal someday in the future. And they have a reason to break into your back door. And so right now you might feel justified thinking, I don't do anything wrong, so I don't care if the government breaks into my phone. Smoking a cigarette might become illegal, or, talking to, your Islamic friend or your Jewish friend, or being a woman. Like, I mean, I'm getting ridiculous, but
it's one of these things that once it is broken, it's really hard to fix. And cybersecurity and digital privacy are really big deals, not just because doing something wrong, but because things that you might be doing could be used against you, or you could be said that they will be used against you in order to threat, to control, to spy on just regular people, but also the government itself then becomes less secure. They do that all the time. They use things against people of what kind of websites they've been to, who have they been chatting with, and being able to figure out the entire net of where your life is. And then that can be then used against you as well. If you are, a political activist that believes something different than the government does. Your rights to privacy and free speech are really important. And I don't think people see far enough ahead of where things are going, that if we do not fight now, it will become that complacency equals death, where you're just so used to not having any privacy and you can't get it back unless you are fully unplugged.
And the thing there's a couple things for me too, is one, people will always say, well, if it was your relative or whatever that this happened to, wouldn't you want them to break into the phone? And you can never ask that question, because yes, I would want them to be tortured and filled with truth serum, things that are patently illegal. And they're illegal because you can never ask somebody in the moment. They would do anything at that point in time, which is the whole point of making laws. But also, we have in most, not every society, but a lot of societies have a right against self-incrimination, like pleading the fifth in the US, but also things like spousal privilege. And it's long been I've long been arguing that devices have become such a part of us that they deserve the same sort of protection. And you only have to go a little bit further. For example, if you have a prosthetic arm and that arm has a chip in it, should they be able to take the record of what that arm did? And eventually Elon Musk is working on brain neural interfaces. Initially it's going to be used for medical things. Should that be subpoenable? And I think we have to start putting protections in place for external and internal life stores, because it really is becoming part of us, and it deserves the same kind of protection that the rest of us enjoys. Yeah,
Renee, your analogy that our phones are basically as private to us as our spouse, and that our phones should be protected as a spouse should. That makes so much sense, because we trust our devices with all of our private and personal information as if that were our spouse, more so than our spouse.
They know more. If I had to have someone pop up on me, I'm like, my phone knows much more about my life than my spouse does. My phone knows everything, and it's completely accurate. I'd be like, take the spouse, but keep the phone.
It's very true.
That's my rating.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at the end of our hour. So thank you, Renee, for bringing all that extra stuff into the forum. We talked too much about CES and not about actual things that are
No, I
happening
loved
this
it.
week.
I had so much FOMO. You really made me feel like I was there. I appreciate it.
We'll have another episode on Friday, so we'll be able to catch up on other Apple news coming up. Thank you to everybody who jumped in today and chatted with us at the last minute like that. We usually have the show on Fridays, and we actually postponed it until today, Monday, because I happened to be in a meeting on Friday at CES. I made a mistake of accidentally scheduling two things at the same time. So, oops. So thanks for everyone that jumped in today at the last minute and joined us. It was great to have you here. Thanks to all of our listeners who'll be listening to this in the future. We appreciate that you come back every week and listen to us. And when you happen to make a comment on Twitter that says, "Hey, what happened to the iMore show this week?" It warms my heart, because that means you're actually looking forward to the show every week. So thanks for those times when you do that. Thanks to Jim Metzendorf for all the work that you do to make us sound so good. I did have that horrible cough first thing before the show started, so I apologize for that. I hope it doesn't blow your ears out. And thanks again to everyone, and we'll see you again next week. Happy end of CES. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Almost forgot.
Well done,
how to
Lori
end the
Gill.
broadcast.